Okay, so today I get to talk to my friend Courtney, who is an expert at inquiry-based learning, and she's just amazing at it, and she just wants to learn more about it. So I thought she would be a perfect expert to talk more about what it is and how it's beneficial and how it benefits our learners. So, Courtney, hi, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Oh, well, thanks for being here. So, to start us off, can you just talk about what inquiry-based learning even is and what it entails?
Inquiry-based learning is a lot of things, but I'll try to summarize it. And inquiry learning is child-centered, first of all. It allows students to have agency and ownership in their learning process. It really nurtures the child's natural ability to be curious. And the teacher's role in inquiry is to guide and facilitate, where students and teachers work together. So instead of learning and memorizing facts, it is based on developing skills such as critical thinking, problem solving, creativity, collaboration, communication, and citizenship. So the emphasis is not on what we are learning necessarily, but how we are learning.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
So, what are some of the benefits that you've seen in your classroom with inquiry-based learning?
So with inquiry-based learning, I see a lot of benefits from it. It enhances learning experiences for children. It teaches them skills needed for all areas of learning and in life. Really, they're learning life skills. It fosters curiosity in students so that they become lifelong learners.
Yes.
It's so interesting with inquiry learning or school in general. Kids are naturally curious. Like before they come into the classroom, they're already exploring outside with their toys. They want to learn.
Yeah.
And then they come into a classroom where here's the teacher just kind of giving them all the information. They're no longer asked to be curious. They're asked to sit and listen to information and then regurgitate that on a test or into a project or however the teacher asks them to do it. So I really find that inquiry learning deepens a student's understanding of topics. So it's not just memorizing facts. It allows students to take ownership of their learning. It increases engagement. If they're already interested in what they're learning about, and it comes from their own curiosity, they're going to be naturally engaged in that.
Yeah.
So, of course, it helps enhance that. And it creates a love of learning and a passion to ask questions and gain knowledge.
Yeah. So for teachers that are new to this, can you kind of walk through what that process looks like? Like just totally walk us through the examples and how you would implement it into your classroom.
There's different ways that you can do inquiry. And I think people have this idea that it's this free for all and like kids are doing whatever they want and they're bringing all these things in. But inquiry can come from the teacher. I mean, it can be led by the teacher. And I think it's scaffolding like anything else. And you start giving more and more ownership to the kids. So there's different ways of doing it. There's certain practices that we use in inquiry learning, such as bringing in things we call provocations, a video that you show. It could be a picture that you show. It could be an item that they can touch. So it could be like a piece of clothing or a piece of wood or anything that you can bring into the classroom. Those are all provocations, and that can spark curiosity just by showing them something. And you go in and you give ownership back to the kids. So if we're, for instance, looking at a picture, you're asking students, what do you see? What do you notice? What are you wondering? Just very simple questions like that. And you end up having a great conversation about this provocation. And from that provocation, you then ask, where can we go with our questions? Where can we look for our answers? And again, you give it back to the kids. Where can we go? Who can we ask? Where do you find information? We also do things called book browses. So
that's cool.
You bring in a bunch of books on one subject and you allow them just to go through the book and basically do research, and you come back. And a big part of inquiry too is sharing what they found. So they get a chance to share what they found, and again, ask more questions. And that's kind of the process, I guess, is to ask questions, reflect, and kind of move forward from that.
So is there ever like a final destination with that? Because I know that in learning, with the curriculum, we say, okay, this is what you need to do. This is how they show their learning. But is it supposed to be this open concept type learning?
Some inquiries, they kind of have a natural death. Like the kids, the whole point is that you want them to stay curious, but maybe, you know what, they're not headed in that direction anymore. So again, you give back to the kids and see kind of what they're interested in. Maybe their interests have changed, and there's no real final product. And sometimes in inquiry, you ask them, how can we share what we've learned here? We have learned so much about space. How can we share our learning now and be the experts on this? And they might come up with great ideas. And really, that's where technology can come into place. And they might say they want to present it to the other grade 1 class. They might say they want to share it with their families. And it gives them a chance to share their learning. And you can kind of really see where their learning's at in that subject area. So a final product, there is sometimes, and sometimes it's not really what we're used to in that it's like a written test or anything like that. It could just be, maybe they want to draw a picture of what they know. Maybe they want to write something. So it all looks different.
Wow. So you teach grade 1. So in grade 1, there are a lot of skills that take memorization, such as sight words or math facts. And there's different things in the curriculum that we have to hit for those grades. So how do you find the balance between implementing inquiry-based learning and using curriculum and using literacy skills and numeracy skills? And how do you find that balance?
I think that's another misconception about inquiry, is that there's no direct teaching. But of course, with the little ones, you can't say, oh, go figure out how to read on your own. Like, that's not going to happen. So of course there's direct teaching, but there's always intent, and you're always saying, this is why we're learning this. So it's not, I like to use task, intent, criteria. So what are we doing? The intent is why we're doing it. And a criteria, usually we can come up with a criteria. How do we know we're doing a good job? So how do we know we're learning this? So there's always intent there, and it's communicated. And I think, there's still direct teaching that has to go on. The balance, I mean, just like your day, with true inquiry, you try to, if there is a great opportunity to explore something, you would stop what you're doing and go and explore that with the kids. I mean, it is hard. Obviously, we do have a curriculum to make sure we're teaching, but you also have like an afternoon to do that, or, maybe we can come back to that, but you're always making sure you're documenting wonderings or curiosities, and you can always come back to those during either science or social studies times.
Oh, that's great. I really like that. Like, you come back to it, because I think there's value when a kid is wondering these things and has these questions. We need to honor that.
Yes, I agree.
Okay, here is another question for you. How do you incorporate technology into inquiry-based learning? I know that you do a lot of hands-on, like project-based things, but have you had experience with implementing technology into it?
We definitely use technology. I'm not too technology. I don't have a great, I don't know lots of resources there, but we do use technology a lot in inquiry, because a big part of inquiry is documenting what's happening in the classroom. So we use it as a tool for sure. We document and take pictures of everything that's going on. We would post those in the classroom so that we can reflect on those pictures. and we can see through pictures the whole inquiry process. So we really try to make sure that we're documenting what's going on in the classroom. We also use technology. A big part is also documenting what we call knowledge building circles, which is basically a sharing circle of it would happen after like a book browse or any kind of time that they get to go explore. We come back and we share our findings. So a big part, and I really love this piece, is you document exactly what the students are saying in real time. So that's where I've loved using the projector, and the whole role of the teacher during knowledge building circles is to guide them, but also just to sit there and document what the kids are saying. Because when you go back and reflect on those knowledge building circles, you see so much of what their understanding is and their thoughts, some of their deep thinking you get to see. And if you just have a sharing circle, you don't document it, you kind of don't get to reflect back on it afterwards. So we'll sit there and we'll project up onto the smartboard, and I will document in real time what the students are seeing. And I think it really gives value. They see that what they're saying and what they're thinking has value. And I think that goes a long way in the classroom. So that's another way that we use technology. And we also use it as a research tool, obviously. With the little ones, I wouldn't necessarily ask them to go use Google because there's a big citizenship, digital citizenship aspect there. I mean, we talk about kind of what's true, what's not true in inquiry. We also make sure that we cross-reference. So sometimes we'll make sure to look in a book as well to find an answer if we find something on the internet. But a good tool that I've used with the little ones is something called Pebble Go.
Oh.
It's a great research tool. So
I've heard of that.
It has a huge amount of subjects on there, but it also is very easy for the little ones to navigate. And if they're going to research, not all of them can read, but they have voice notes over all of the information, so they can still hear what they're learning about. They don't necessarily have to read it.
Now, is that just on the internet, or is it an app?
It's an app.
Amazing. Okay, so last question. You talked a little bit about how inquiry-based learning develops these critical thinking skills. So when we look at the 4 C's, which are critical thinking, collaboration, creativity, and communication, how are those 4 skills implemented in inquiry-based learning?
It is inquiry-based learning.
That's what it is.
That's what it is. So I think that's the whole point. Like I said, you're trying to build these skills. It's skills-based learning. Yeah. So if we come to a problem, how you as the teacher aren't there to solve it for them. You are now going to give it back to them and say, where can we go from here? Again, when we do a knowledge building circle, right there, we're using collaboration. We're coming up with the skill, information together as a group. We're learning communication skills, having to wait your turn, using things like saying, I agree with so-and-so, or I disagree with so-and-so. We're also learning citizenship skills. So how to be in a community, what is important to our community, how can we help our community. The whole process of inquiry is using those skills, and that's what we're trying to build, are those skills. So again, it's not what we're learning, but how we're learning. Wow. I don't know if that answers.
I think we just need to end on that. That's a beautiful way to end it. Thank you, Courtney.
Yes.
I appreciated your wisdom on this topic.
Thank you for having me.